Okay, so we have derived the descriptive stats for two variables at the same time. We can close that. We won't lose the data by clicking yes. It doesn't mean we lose or we delete the data on the two variables. They still exist in the work file. So let's look at the next question. So we are done with this. Next one, XY scatter plot. So keep in mind the first variable you click will be the x-axis variable. Cons1 versus real GDP1. So cons1, press Control, hold it, and then GDP1. Now you can release the Control key. Right click, open as group, view, graph, scatter, simple scatter. Okay. Okay. Clearly positive relationship between real consumption and real GDP. Okay. I think the next question involves the same two variables. You want to derive correlation coefficient. So view, not spreadsheet, not graph, but rather correlations. Okay, 0.9944. So very strong and positive relationship, linear relationship between cons1 and real GDP1. Okay. So we are halfway through. Now we want to run a regression. Let's start with bivariate regression. Real consumption explained by real income. Okay. So go to quick estimate equation. It is ordinary least square method. We include the data for the full 10-year period. So cons1, we start with the y variable, then space, then c means please include constant. Explained by ypdi1. So start off with the y variable, space, c, which means constant, space, then the explanatory variable. And in this regression, there is only one explanatory variable because we are dealing with bivariate regression. Okay. Then you can interpret the slope parameter 0.24. Then it means if real income increases by 1 rand, then real consumption increases by 24 cents. I think it makes sense because we wouldn't spend all our additional income. We would save some of the income. And then let's save this regression name, EQ01. Okay, now you see the regression is there. Okay, let's do the estimation, the y hat. So you click forecast. This is the name suggested. Okay. I think maybe there is a need to rename the variable because we are going to run a few. Actually, we will run how many regressions? I think, or we will only run. Is it one regression actually? Okay, yeah. So F means forecast or estimated values. Okay. And it's already there. And then finally, for the regression, you want to derive the residuals actually. So I'm done with this. I'm also done with this. Okay, cons F1, residual, okay. Y, residual equals actual y minus y hat. So all you have to do is go back to the regression, prox, make residual series. I repeat, prox, make residual series. Okay, residual 0, 1, it makes sense. It means the residual derived from the first and only regression that you run. Okay, so that's the residual. Now I want to open the actual y hat, and residuals all together. Okay, so that is your answer, which corresponds slide number 18. Okay. Okay, then I think we finished the first practice file. Okay, you can save it. Okay, but actually not necessary. You can look at the practice 1 work file. Okay, so from my side, I'm not going to save it. I will just close it. Why is it not closing? Should I exit? Okay. Okay, that's a bit strange. Okay, on my laptop. Okay, let's double click EViews 3 again. So let's look at the next question. Practice 2. So I don't need this Excel file anymore. Let's open practice 2. Bootcamp number 2 EViews. Practice 2, and there are 2 sheets. Let's start with sheet 1. Time series annual data from 2010 to 2019. I'm going to use the copy and paste method. You have real personal disposable income, real consumption, and the prime rate. Let me copy the data. File, new, work file. Annual, so leave it unchanged from 2010 to 2019. Okay, quick empty group edit series. And I suppose you remember what I told you earlier. Scroll all the way upwards, leftwards until you see all 4 OBS. Then you click on the cell next to the OBS that is not in bold, and then right click, paste. Okay. And then I just want you to run a multivariate regression, quick estimate equation. Cons1 space, C space, YPDI1 space, and then the prime rate. Okay. Okay, you see the positive relationship between real income and consumption, and then the negative relationship between prime rate and real consumption. And then you can save your regression, and you can save your work file. I'm not going to save it. But in your bootcamp folder, it is actually practice 2A. Okay, then I want you to go back to the Excel sheet, go to sheet 2. This time it is cross-sectional data. Information on income and expenditure of 6 individuals captured at the same time. So copy the data, including the variable names, cross-sectional data. So go back to EViews, File, New Work File. This time you click the last option, Undated or Irregular. Start observation is 1, end observation is 6. So this time we work with cross-sectional data. Okay, quick empty group edit series. Then you should know what to do. Okay. And then you can run the regression. Expenditure explained by income. Okay. So this is the marginal propensity to spend 0.628. It means if your income increases by 1 rand, your expenditure increases by 63 cents. Okay. So in other words, marginal propensity to save is 0.37. Okay. Then you can save the EViews work file as practice 2B. Okay. And then we only have 1 question left, which is a long question. So let's close the Excel file. So can you open the last practice file, practice 3? Then for the PowerPoint slides, we would move on to 22. Okay. So annual data from 1997 to 2016. These are all in nominal terms, actually. So copy. File, new work file. Annual 1997 to 2016. Okay, 97 to 2016. Copy. Sorry, quick. Empty group edit series. Then you should know what to do. Okay. Okay, and there are quite a number of questions we have to do. Derive GDP. GDP equals GDE plus exports minus imports. This time I want to simplify the story so I don't include residuals. Or alternatively, I assume residuals equals 0 for all years. So I create a new variable by typing an equation. So go to generate. GDP equals GDE plus exports with the S minus imports with the S as well. Okay. Next one, real GDP, GDP1, which I'm going to generate equals the nominal GDP divided by the GDP deflator, which is available in the dataset, times 100. So generate GDP1 equals GDP divided by deflator times 100. Okay. And then the last one, economic growth equals GDP1 divided by GDP1 of the previous period. Remember the special EViews language, bracket -1, and then -1 close bracket times 100. So generate growth equals GDP1 divided by GDP1 of the previous period, and then -1 times 100. So two pairs of brackets involved. Okay, let's look at the growth variable. So you won't have a growth rate in 1997. The reason is we don't have the real GDP of 1996. Okay, so I think this answer corresponds to slide number 24. Hopefully you also have the same answers as mine. Okay, and then we move on to do various questions. Show the line chart of real GDP and interpret the graph. Okay. I think I can close this Excel. I don't need this anymore. Okay. Okay, I can close this. Okay. Real GDP growth, view, line chart. Okay, you see the recession in 2009. Okay, next one. XY scatter plot between unemployment rate and inflation rate, which essentially is the Phillips curve. Okay, unemployment rate, control, hold it, inflation, then you release, right click, open as group, view, graph, scatter, simple scatter. Okay. And then view unemployment rate as a bar chart or even line chart. As I said, the bar chart looks better. Then you do the same on inflation. Okay. Okay, lastly, you have to run two regressions. The first one is a reciprocal model, actually. Inflation explained by 1 over x or 1 over unemployment. So let's do that quick. Estimate equation. Inflation C and then 1 over unemployment rate UNEMPL. Okay. Okay. And then the last one is a double log function. Quick. Estimate equation, log of inflation explained by log of unemployment.